Hey everybody, it's Dan Barrett, and you are listening to the Death Consciousness commentary tracks with both myself and Tim McCouga. If you haven't checked any of these out, basically the idea here is that we're going to have a bunch of conversations over each of the songs on the record. We're just going to play them in the background and kind of talk over them. So not the kind of thing, not the way that you want to listen to the record, obviously, the first time. But if you've listened to it a bunch of times, you want to hear our conversations on this stuff. We just kind of go wherever it takes us. We listen to the songs. And Tim and I actually haven't listened to these songs together in forever. So it was a really interesting experience. It was really fun. We're kind of doing these gradually as we go along. So really hope you enjoy it. And we will pick up pretty much in the middle of a conversation between Tim and I, and we will do the introduction and then get on to the songs. So thanks a lot. You talk.
I'm talking. We should talk in beat to the metronome.
I like you, Tim. Do you like do?
This is a good conversation.
That's awful. That's the worst.
Our band name is a whole sentence, I guess. It's an imperative sentence.
Yeah. Because we were trying to say it's imperative that you check out our new album, Death Consciousness.
Yes.
We declare... No, it's not declarative. It's imperative.
It's an order.
Yeah, but if you put a question mark at the end, it's a question.
It's interrogative.
Interrogative. Okay, so this is the official intro to the commentary for Death Consciousness, right? So obviously I'm Dan.
I'm Tim.
All right. So Tim, tell me a little bit about, so this record officially sort of came out in 2008.
Yeah.
Right? Financial crisis, tough times worldwide. And so we had started recording it
2005.
2005.
Four,
right?
maybe, or no, probably four.
In some vestigial sense, right? Because
or some tracks that ended up in we're going to start doing track commentary, and I'll discuss that parts of a quick one before
right.
The Eternal Worm Devours Connecticut that was even earlier, but separate from we are writing songs for an album. And
did we think about it that way? I literally don't remember. Was it
at least a handful of songs in? I think
we were like, so previous to Death Consciousness, we did the Powers of 10, which was a demo. It was just called Powers of 10, not The Powers of 10. Although that's actually not a bad band name.
The Powers of 10.
The Powers of 10.
Yeah.
But in any case, so we did the Powers of 10 demo.
It was 2006.
In 2006, right? So that included songs that ended up being on Death Consciousness. It was Deep was on there.
Earth Mover
was on there.
Version of Waiting for Black Metal Records to come in the mail.
Yeah. Oh, so was it that and not Deep, or was Deep on there too?
Oh, they both were.
Okay. So earlier versions of those songs were on there, but they're actually the versions that are on there, and I think people can find it online somewhere or other. We're fairly close to, at least in the ballpark of what the Death Conscious versions ended up being.
Correct.
Right? So before we were doing that, were we like, this is a separate thing, and then after that we were like, we should make this a longer record? Or was it always like we were recording a record and the demo was just to like promo the record or something? Or
the record ended up being two records.
Right. Yeah, because it ended up being a sort of double album.
Well, in those formative stages, I think we had been conceiving of certain songs as one of a larger piece, an instrumental like The Future and Holy Fucking Shit 40,000. I think both of those came out of the same, sessions, or we had the sense that these weren't just one-off songs anymore, that we were just writing in a bubble just for... there's the whole thing that we were not planning on this becoming an album that people ever listened to.
No.
But I think, there's what ended up in the Powers of 10 demo, and then what didn't end up on there. There were still pockets of songs that were building towards some sort of longer form body of music.
I'm still surprised today that anybody's heard it. Period.
Yeah, I don't remember how or why that happened, but
No.
it did.
Well, I think I was doing this thing where I would go online and find early blogs, and I think at that point it's sort of hard to like remember, but at that point blogs, sort of like regular person blogs for music, were not really a common thing. So it's like I was going on a lot of like live journals and stuff like that, and just finding people that had. I think I was literally just Googling for people who had reviewed black metal records and then mailing them the CDR. Like I would find their mailing address and I would mail them the CDR because you couldn't
They
even
would say, "Was I waiting for this
yeah.
my whole life?"
Huh.
Well, or besides like the Powers of 10 demo that we literally stuck in people's windshields outside of that show we played.
So that was a good example of high effort with low reward.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure all 36 of those, or however many it was we pressed, are
Yeah, we're like blown away in the autumn wind.
yeah, they're just lying around with empty Dunkin' Donuts cups in Wallingford, Connecticut, or wherever the hell that was.
It's a very New England scene. It's just
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts cups blowing all over the place with leaves
Senator Elizabeth Warren picking them up.
and Have a Nice Life demos.
Yeah, that's all there is around here.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we were very much in a bubble. We didn't know anybody. It wasn't like we were in a scene where we had other people playing music that we were bouncing ideas off of or anything. We really didn't know much of anything.
No.
And so, that was the only kind of outlet that I knew about that was at all realistic. To get anybody to pay attention to the record at all was pick like sort of people that are doing so small blogs, and mail them a thing, because I remember at the time there wasn't really a good way of shipping anybody MP3s. Like it was a big pain in the butt. You had to actually like ship
pre Dropbox.
Yeah, none of that stuff was there. So
Mega
it was,
Upload or whatever.
yeah, we had a MySpace page and stuff.
That's right.
And I remember making the graphic. So we took the graphic of the soldier that was on the book for Death Consciousness and sort of put him on a little graphic that said, "Have a Nice Life would like to announce
The most depressing album ever
the
made.
most depressing album of all time," or something. Which I think is like,
That was shrewd.
it's a little cringeworthy now, but I do think it's like, you might as well try to get someone's attention. If you're gonna go for it, you might as well go
Yeah,
for
what would
it.
Tony Robbins say? Be modest about your
He was like,
your
"No,
ambitions.
you're fucking depressed and own it. You lonely sack of shit."
Go skydiving with me.
Yeah, for $60,000 a year. Tim is referring to the fact that I would like to be a member of the Platinum Members Circle or whatever, Tony Robbins, which is true. But so in any case, yeah. So I mean, I think it's weird now because I think a lot of people, although it doesn't come up in my day-to-day life at all. I think a lot of people view the record as kind of a at least a cult thing, in the sense that like a lot of people know about it, but
The Rocky Horror Picture Show of minor internet
doom gaze,
yeah,
last FM bands,
home recorded
and I think
SoundCloud.
it's interesting to think back to like being like, it's I almost sometimes I get a little wistful for that feeling of you're just doing whatever and there's no expectation of it whatsoever. And,
Yeah.
It's a very good problem to have, and I'm not complaining about the fact that like people look forward to our music when it comes out, but I do think it's like it'd be hard to recapture that moment in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, or it's I don't know. We inherently behave differently if we feel we have an audience, or I don't know. What's the scientific theorem that even observing matter has the capacity to
Like quantum physics
change
or whatever.
change the matter? I'm not educated enough to.
What was I just gonna say? I had something brilliant to say.
Great.
Yeah, it was really fantastic too.
Just out there, like
Let me just put that out there. I can't remember what it is, but I want you to know that I had something great to say. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I want to say. So I think it's also too, it's really interesting because at the time, I remember you and I both being like, we want to combine sort of heavier music with like Sisters of Mercy and sort of like, like 80s, we were like sort of like, I really literally, and this was like it was college and after college, had just started to get into things like New Order and Sisters of Mercy and stuff like that. Like I hadn't been into that. That was new to me. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I want to play that music because it's awesome, but it was new to me and I was excited about it. And I remember being like, nobody is doing this. This is like a dead musical genre that no one's going to like. Of course, that was completely not the case. But yeah, I was
in our world.
But I was so disconnected from everything else that was going on.
I was the only person I knew that had Sisters of Mercy albums.
Right. So as far as it was like saying like we're going to bring back like drum and fife. Yeah. Like like we're way into that.
Yeah.
Our band is called
tons of dudes that are into drum and fife.
Fife Club.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, it's like the first rule of Fight Club is doo 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 doo. I know it's horrible, but I like it a lot. But yeah, so tri-corner hats and stuff. Anyway, but yeah, so I mean, I think it's weird now looking back on it because it's like there were actually when that record was coming out, there were a number of other bands doing similarly influenced stuff, and I feel like those.
Or we put it out there and people say like, "Oh, this sounds like Yezu."
Yeah, and we were like, "Who?" At least I was like, "Who is that?"
Yeah, and I was vaguely aware and said, "Oh, right," or that's. But I don't know if it's not a part of. I don't know. Independent invention exists.
No. I think it. I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's like the zeitgeist, where you're a part of the zeitgeist, whether you think you are or not. And
it's scary.
It is a little scary. We were thinking about it because, so my first son we named Oliver. We thought that was a really cool name. We're like, it's sort of a unique name, but it's like I just know that like 5 years from now it's gonna be like the most popular name in the year that he was born is gonna be Oliver, right? Because I don't know, like whatever. Because Oliver Cromwell,
Oliver,
it was his birthday a year or something.
Oliver's the Caitlin of Olivers.
Oliver is the Caitlin of Olivers.
Yeah,
sure. So it's just kind of interesting to think back on that because now I think when we write music now, I already have all that context in my head. Mm-hmm. So there is at least some way you have to react to that. You're either going with that or against that. You're trying to ignore it, or you're consciously doing something else.
You're just that much more self-aware of whether or not you're repeating yourself because you have a previous self encoded.
Right. Yeah. There is
to compare it to.
There's like a frozen and amber version of what we were doing, and then we not only have to.
Not only that, it's your old stuff, and your old stuff is always better.
I prefer your early demo to your full album.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting to kind of think back on it, and we actually did this once already, and I forgot to record my track. So, but I am actually excited to go through this.
I think it's true to the spirit of the project, though, for the Death Consciousness hard drive crashing, or I don't know. I think it's only entirely appropriate that we did this for over an hour, like a month ago or something,
and then
realized that
it didn't. It would because
it wasn't recording.
I literally didn't hit the record button on my own microphone. And so now we have to do it again, just kind of referring to that. So that's sort of like the Death Consciousness sort of foundation myth, which is not a myth. It actually happened.
Yeah.
Which is that we lost pretty much all of the files that we had, except some kind of just MP3 bounce versions that we had.
Yeah.
And the songs weren't done. We didn't think they were done or whatever. And I literally had like a bullet, I had like a gun barrel in my mouth. And,
Yeah.
and Tim
That
was
was a
like,
bad day to show up at your house,
Holy
and your like
shit,
head was on the desk.
oh my God.
Hey Dan, what's happening? Tracy had to let me in. Why aren't you sitting with good posture?
Yeah. It was like 4 years or 5 years of work.
Yeah.
So I still remember you just kind of being like, well, why don't we just put out what we have? And then me being like, yeah, I guess so. It's like not like anyone's going to ever hear it anyway.
Wah, wah. Sad
Wah,
trombone.
wah. Yeah. So then, of course, we didn't really think about the problem of making a vinyl record version of an album that only has lossy like 42 kbps MP3s as its master files. But as aggravating as that is,
It's conceptually honest. It's conceptually true.
honest,
That's-
and it actually, I think it goes with the overall. If I think Death Consciousness, its ultimate charm, really is that we had no idea what we were doing in any sense, and so I find that it just adds to that general theme.
yeah.
And I still like that about us. I still feel like
I mean, Rick Rubin will record it for you, anyways. Stripped down acoustic guitar. I don't know. Maybe that'll come in the twilight of ours. Oh, I'm just throwing that out there.
I should email him and be like, I had like a heart thing a little while ago. You better get this. You better get on this while it's still here. And then he'll be like, do you want to cover? Well, he'll be like, you should cover something real sad. And I'm like, well, not my own stuff. And I'll be like, no. I've got like this, I've got this Dolly Parton song I want you to cover, but real slow. 9 to 5. Got to make a living. That song is awesome. All right, you want to get into
It's
it?
a good movie. Surprisingly dark movie. Or,
Yeah.
I don't know. They're like fantasizing about killing their boss. And I returned to 9 to 5 recently.
Of course you did. Do you own it now?
I do not own
Okay.
of all of the films in my board game closet or whatever it is. I do not have a copy of
feel like
9 to 5
The films that you own are either really nice Criterion Collection like Bolivian films, or you're like, I picked this up for 4.5 cents in the discount bin at a store where like capitalism goes to die. And I like that.
Where can you find New Jack City for 4 cents? You have to
Tim knows.
capitalize on that
Yeah.
that opportunity.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right. Let's do it. So we'll jump into the first song, which is a quick one before the Eternal Worm devours Connecticut.
Hot.